All right. Thank you all for making time to join us this afternoon or evening, and in some cases morning. Our discussion or conversation topic today is of what relevance is the Bible to 21st century leadership and human development. And we are so pleased to have in our midst our esteemed panel. We have Reverend Dr. Daniel Justice Shen, an academic, and also with a chaplaincy team at Roehampton University in London. And he will be in conversation with Dr. Samuel Ejesafo, attorney and counselor of law based in Texas, US. Gentlemen, you're warmly welcome to our conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope I can refer to you both as Daniel and Samuel, respectively.
We'll prefer that.
And I think these are two of the most qualified names for such an important conversation, Daniel and Samuel discussing the Bible. Right. Without much ado, I would want us to take some time to share the link that we've got, the Facebook link, with our network. So if you can see the Facebook link on your Facebook, you can share as we carry on. So now at the moment, I would want us to provide our guests the opportunity to do a bit of self-introduction to let us know, particularly with their journey, which has informed their worldviews. So we'll start off from my right. We start with Reverend Dr. Daniel Justice Shen.
Well, as we were having an informal conversation earlier on, my journey began in Ghana. I went to university at University of Cape Coast, finished 1994 academic year, and then worked for Dominic Cartman, which fascinatingly, I hear that Samuel also has something to do with Dominic, at the same time. So I shall be, it will be interesting to see what Dominic has produced. I came from University of Cape Coast after my 2 years with Dominic, and surprisingly, Abochi Ntre as well, who happens to be around at the same time, to King's College, London. And then from King's College, moved to Durham, from Durham to Oxford, got ordained into Church of England, and spent some time in parish ministry, and then ended up going back to academia to teach. My own field of expertise is in area of history and philosophy, anthropology and sociology of religion. And as I always tease my students by saying, I come to theology and biblical studies from a disciplinary perspective. So it will be interesting to engage with Samuel, who, from what I've read of some of the stuff that he's written, he comes to some of these subjects also from legal and his own disciplinary point of view. So that's me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shen. Now we turn to Dr. Samuel Ejesafo as well.
Well, my name is Samuel Ejesafo. Those of us who went to the University of Cape Coast between 92 and 97 may certainly know me. I was a very troublesome person. I was the president of Casely Hayford Hall, and I caused a lot of noise. As to my worldview, I was initially a Methodist, and I became a Seventh-day Adventist. And then I went to the University of Cape Coast to learn under Professor Ntre and also Professor Gaba. They affected my worldview a lot. And eventually, I had the opportunity to come here to the US in 2002. And when I came here, I reviewed my notes from Cape Coast and did some additional work on my worldview. And I decided to abandon the faith. and become an atheist. So for some time now, I've been writing a lot about the Bible. I read the whole Bible when I was 16 years. I know whatever is in there. And I've read it 3 times, maybe not spiritually, as some people will put it. But I am an English major, and I did a lot of analysis in literature. So I consider the book more like a literature. And I was also at the University of Cape Coast as a teaching assistant in the English department under Professor Opukwajman and so on. So maybe that is in brief what I can say about myself. And as we roll on, probably some issues will come up also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jesafo. At this juncture, we would want our conversationists to now make their cases. I don't know if I can start now with Dr. Jesafo at the moment to make your case, either for, against, or be taking a neutral position of what relevance is the Bible to 21st century leadership and human development.
Who is going first?
Yes, you can go first.
Okay. The topic today is of what relevance is the Bible to 21st century leadership and human development. We will begin by defining what we mean by leadership and human development in this 21st century to determine if the Bible is relevant in our times within the meaning of these 2 terms. To gauge the Bible's relevance, we will review the behavior of some so-called anointed leaders in the Bible so that we can decide for ourselves whether they can be true models for 21st century leadership and human development. In simple terms, leadership is all about governance. Governance of families, societies, enterprises, entities, systems, institutions, and nations. The test for real and competent leadership is in the fulfillment of the mission and goals and aspirations of the thing or system being governed. In this sense, the true measure of competent leadership is in the judgment of the people or of the success of the things or organization being governed. The essential ingredients of true leadership are vision, innovation, creativity, adaptability, and the pursuit of the project's aims, goals, mission, and enterprise of the people or the system being governed. A good leader is therefore not confined to any straitjacket. He or she is always looking to adapt new strategies and tactics and approaches depending on the situation confronting him or her. But one consistent quality of an ideal leader is that he or she embodies the noble virtues of wisdom, justice, fairness, courage, truthfulness, compassion, consistency, and honesty. The fulcrum or center of a successful leadership is the human person and their progress and development towards the desired aims and goals and destination. Leadership should therefore be all about the human being's physical and intellectual well-being. There ought to be the primary purpose of every leader, the creation of opportunities for people to exploit their talent and to advance their vision and ambitions. A good leader is always evaluating his or her success in terms of these foregoing indicia. And the measure of his or her success is the extent to which she can advance the natural gifts of his or her people to contribute to his or her community in the fullest possible way. In the context of all the foregoing, we are now asking ourselves today whether the Bible is relevant in this 21st century leadership and human development. I take the strongest view that the Bible is not relevant. Indeed, I'll go as far as to say that it is deleterious and even dangerous to the human leadership endeavor and human development enterprise in these 21st century times. In the first place, the Bible begins with the leadership crisis of God himself. His first instruction to our foremother and forefather was to forbid them to eat of the fruits of the knowledge of good and bad, which he himself had temptingly planted in the middle of the Garden of Eden, giving the impression to humanity that the knowledge of good and bad is an undesirable trait. And this is problematic because the foundation of good leadership subsists in the knowledge of good and bad. And all human ethics and morals are about laws that draw a clear distinction between good and bad. It follows that the society must be provided with adequate information about what is permissible and impermissible in order for the people to act within the ambit of the law. No society can exist if its citizens have no knowledge of good and bad. By prescribing the knowledge of good and bad, God exhibited his preference that humankind will become like lobotomized idiots who he can command to do all kinds of ignorant things without questions. God chose the path of least resistance that echoes modern autocratic rule where people follow their leaders as sheep to the slaughter. So in this instance, the knowledge of good and bad became to God a hindrance to his leadership. But competent leadership in these modern times considers the knowledge of good and bad by the people as a great asset and not a hindrance to leadership. Another evidence of God's dislike for human progress and development is captured in the story of the Tower of Babel. Here, God destroys the Tower of Babel and confuses the language of the people merely because he takes issues with them for trying to stay united and strong and capable of accomplishing great things. See Genesis 11, 1-9. Here, God said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so that they will not understand each other. Genesis 11, 6 and 7. So God confused the language of the people because they attempted to stay united in order to accomplish great things. God seemed oblivious of the conventional leadership principle that fostering unity is the fundamental work of leadership so that the people can be led to achieve what they will otherwise not believe that they can achieve. And so here we note with sardonic amusement that God failed the test of leadership in choosing division over unity and frustrating the innovation and creativity of the people. Elsewhere, when God decided to destroy the world because of the sins of humans, he chose a drunkard and a curser called Noah for the job. And he destroyed babies and animals who had no knowledge of good and bad, and ironically saved the lives of evil creatures like the mosquitoes, cockroaches, termites, soldier ants, houseflies, black flies, bedbugs, TT flies, and bacteria, and of course, the coronavirus. So in the Bible, we see the incompetent leadership of God in his preference for ignorance and his punishment for ignorance, his abortive purge of evil from the surface of the earth, and his failure to clean up the mess on earth properly, as evidenced in his preservation of the insect population, which inflict harm on humanity. God destroyed humans for committing evil deeds and left all these insects that commit more evil deeds. Another evidence of the temperamental leadership exhibited within the Bible concerns Moses. Here we find Moses' first action after liberating the people of Israel from Egypt, being the killing of over 3,000 of them. The tragic story, as recounted in Exodus 32, is that Moses went up the mountain for 40 days, and the people, fearing that he had abandoned them and died on top of the mountain, decided to make a golden calf to worship. Moses came down in a ridge from the mountain top, burned the golden calf, and ground it into powder, and forced the people to drink. Thereafter, he commanded the Levites as follows: "Put ye every man his sword to his thigh, and go to and fro from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor." The Levites promptly obeyed Moses, and they slaughtered 3,000 people in the ensuing pogrom. Exodus 32, 26 to 28. We note with sardonic amusement that later Moses himself collected similar gold jewels from the people and made another idol for them in the form of the Ark of the Covenant, with all the golden adornments of cherubim and seraphim, which the people of Israel virtually worshipped as their God. In it, he put the man-made and inferior stone tablet, which he made in substitution of the one supposedly made by God himself. We again note with sardonic amusement that Moses later abandoned the people and climbed a mountain to go and die there, thereby supporting the original premonition of the people that he was bound to die on top of the mountain. When you read Leviticus, and I hope a lot of people here will go and read Leviticus, it epitomizes gross waste in theocratic governance. The book details instructions on burnt sacrifices, wherein hundreds of sheep and cattle and oxen were daily burned for a sweet aroma to please God. To wit, Moses, as a leader, led in the burning of thousands of sheep in the wilderness when the people were hungry and eating only manna. When they complained that they were fed up with manna, Moses commanded quails to appear from the sea for the people to eat. And when they ate these toxic birds, multitudes of people died. Numbers 11, 31 to 34. We note with sardonic amusement that while Moses was leading the people to burn up sheep and cattle in thousands for God to inhale their smoke, he was at the same time providing toxic birds to the people so that they could eat and die in droves. That kind of insensitive and cruel and clueless leadership is the last thing we need in our modern times in this 21st century. Moses, who was also a quintessential dictator who broached no challenge from anybody, made 613 laws which he expected the people to remember and obey, or die in the attempt to remember and obey. He made laws against marriage with foreigners by the Israelites, but was the first to break them by his marriage to the Cushite woman. When Miriam and Aaron confronted him, he cast leprosy on Miriam and temporarily incapacitated her. After her leprosy, Miriam was never mentioned again in the biblical account until her death. See Numbers 12. We even have a reason to suspect that Moses later killed Aaron himself for daring to question him, because the circumstances of Aaron's death is very suspicious. The Bible narrates in Numbers 20 that Moses stripped Aaron of his priestly garment, and Aaron suddenly died. See Numbers 20, 27, 29. How can a person suddenly die after being stripped of his priestly garment, unless he was killed in the process? Long before all these events was the mass murder perpetrated by Moses on Korah and his family and other community leaders, as recounted in Numbers 16, 1-40. Here, there was an open challenge thrown by a citizen of Israel called Korah, together with some 250 community leaders who were also Levites and council members. They could not understand why God was speaking to Moses alone, who was imposing himself as Lord over the assembly of God. Remember, this same fair question was also posed to Moses later by Miriam and Aaron. In any case, the result was a total disaster for the people. The earth opened up and swallowed that man and all his family members, together with the 200 Levites who were his conspirators. When the people grumbled over this event and attempted to attack Moses and Aaron, an epidemic descended on them, and 14,700 of them perished. We again note with sardonic amusement that in the final analysis, Moses himself abandoned the people and escaped into the mountains. We know this because the Bible states that the man was never ill, nor his sight diminished, and also that nobody knew where he was buried. See Deuteronomy 34:6. How can a healthy man climb a mountain and die in private? We have to ask that question. So here we are looking at Moses as a murderer, a trickster, a magician, and an unjust and autocratic leader who broached no challenge. He was a leader who played God himself. We don't want leaders in these modern 21st century times who will play God. We have many of them around anyway. The Bible also provides no good leadership template for the leaders and kings of Israel. After they settled in the land of Canaan, chaos ensued as these people were ruled by so-called judges who had no clue in leadership, and the people were left to do as they pleased. In later years, when the people requested for kings, there was not a single true leader amongst them. The most significant of these kings was David, who committed adultery with Bathsheba and killed the husband by placing him at the war front to die together with other loyal soldiers so that he could hide an adulterous pregnancy. 2 Samuel 11 and 12, 1 Kings 1 and 2. His earlier affair with Abigail, which preceded this murderous event, also raises suspicion of his orgiastic propensity. This matter is also recorded in 1 Samuel 25. There, David requested provisions from Nabal, and when he refused, David and his brigands prepared to attack. He thereafter became love-struck with Nabal's wife, Abigail, when she intervened, and soon thereafter, Nabal mysteriously and conveniently died, and David quickly and promptly married his wife, Abigail. 1 Samuel 25, 39-42. We note with sardonic amusement that after this marriage, Abigail's name was never mentioned again in the biblical records. This means that David was intelligent enough to avoid this dangerous woman after having his way with her. There is a mantra in Akan, and David was aware of that. Elsewhere in 2 Samuel 21, 1-14, there is an obscure, albeit repugnant account of a dastardly human sacrifice which David performed with descendants of Saul, who were impaled on a wall to appease the Gibeonites, who Saul is said to have offended. There is no account in the Bible of Saul having killed any Gibeonite. So the whole claim was a fabrication. The innocent blood shed purportedly to avert an epidemic is an example in superstitious cowardice. David did not remember his covenant and friendship with Jonathan, and he quickly destroyed his relatives as a token for the Gibeonites. So here we are looking at leaders soaking in the blood of their subjects, leaders committing adultery and performing human sacrifices of their political enemies, all in the name of God. Therefore, in these instances, we note with sardonic amusement that God's original plan that humans should know no difference between good and bad lived on within the biblical leaders, who indeed made no differentiation between good and bad. This space and time are insufficient to recount also the dark deeds of the rest of the biblical leaders, of Abraham, who slept with his maid servant and banished her into the scorching wilderness to die of hunger and thirst. Genesis 21:8-21. Or of his attempted human sacrifice of his only son in obedience of his deity. Genesis 22:1-14. Or of Joseph, who introduced mass slavery into Egypt and used food to rob the people of their health, lands, and wealth, and enslaved the whole Egyptian population. Genesis 47:14-26. Over here, we have to remember that the first time in the world, in the Bible, that one person was able to enslave a whole population. So we note with sardonic amusement that as a karmic consequence of his actions, the Egyptians also later enslaved the population of Israel. Then we also talk of Samuel, who performed the human sacrifice of King Agag at Gilgal and brought down the kingdom of Saul through sheer political chicanery. See 1 Samuel 15. Of Saul and his obsession and pursuit of David, 1 Samuel 23:7-24. Of the human sacrifice of Jephthah, of his only daughter, see Judges 11:29-40. Of Solomon and his polygamy, his profligacy and forced labor, 1 Kings 9:20-22. Of the human sacrifice of God, of his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to pacify himself and bonify himself before giving free pass to humanity to sin freely and be forgiven every time they free. See the Synoptic Gospels. We note all this leadership for power with sardonic amusement. As elsewhere in the book of Kings and Judges and Samuel and Chronicles, we see that the sole measure of good leadership in the biblical times was the satisfaction of the edicts of God, which were the same as the edicts of Moses, as interpreted by the high priest who performed daily rituals and burnt offerings. The quality of the monarchy was adjudged by the satisfaction and satiation of these high priests, not by the satisfaction and contentment of the people. In the Bible, leadership had nothing to do with the people. So, in the leadership conundrum of the Bible, we perceive tyranny and savagery at their apogee, where questioning leadership is a certain death sentence. We perceive double standards and contradictions, the prohibition of knowledge of good and bad, and consequent heaviness of ignorance and superstition. We perceive dishonesty, mass murder, adultery, stealing, and human sacrifice. We perceive iconoclasts and madmen and people of no conscience, parading themselves over the people and killing them like mosquitoes, cockroaches, termites, soldier ants, houseflies, black flies, bacteria, and of course, coronavirus. Under these horrifying and terrifying circumstances, what is there to learn or glean from the leaders of the Bible in this 21st century? Genocide or human sacrifice or superstition or tantrums or polygamy or disloyalty or deviousness or selfishness or foolishness or arrogance or greed? Are these what we want to learn from the Bible, the biblical leaders in this 21st century? We live in a different era and a different dispensation. The measure of greatness of those biblical kings was in their conquests and genocide and enslavement of their populations and other people. It was a primitive time when the leaders compared themselves with lions and ferocious beasts and acted as these predatory animals, where the kings took what they wanted for free from the people and trampled on their rights as per the divine rights of those kings. Today, the world has moved on past the primitive posturing of the biblical leaders. They have nothing to show of their leadership or human development. If we choose to make them a template for our modern leadership and human development, our society will return to the times of savagery, and our governments will collapse, and our people will perish, just as the 12 tribes of Israel perished. In this instance, the Bible is an encumbrance upon leadership principles and human development in these modern times, and it has nothing to offer us or teach us except to point to us the things we should repudiate and abhor or hate. We will concede that scattered in the Bible, as in every good literature book, are minuscule leadership advisory and principles taught in the abstract by people like Paul and others to people like Timothy and others. But the Bible features no leader in whom these smidgens of leadership teachings were embodied. They are therefore mere theories with little or no practice. We should therefore develop and design our own forms of government based on democratic principles and the universal rights of the human person, on global peace and on and economic well-being and welfare of the people. We should use the instrumentalities of international organizations like the United Nations to distill global principles of leadership and draw a charter thereof, which the world governments will ratify and commit to us and apply to lead their people in this 21st century. The world's progress and its human development will lie in eschewing the savage leadership of the past and forging ahead into new ideas of sound and benevolent leadership. I therefore submit to you with the ultimate sardonic amusement, albeit with the greatest humility, that the Bible has no relevance whatsoever in 21st century leadership and human development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think we will now give Reverend Dr. Denley Shen also the chance to make his case.
First and foremost, I have to, as a form of positionality, let me place the Bible within the context as I understand it. The Bible is a sacred text. And for those of us who belong to certain section of the church, i.e. the Methodists, the Anglicans, the Presbyterians, and the Roman Catholics, and as well as many Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox churches, to say that the Bible, you are also by default saying reasoning, traditions, experience, they all tie together to make the Bible what it is. The Bible did not fall from the sky. It is misinformation to describe the Bible as if it was written by God. The Bible gives an account of human activity through which, recounting and reflecting on their experiences, they see the act of God in their life. To quote a Jesuit priest that I've come to admire, for these people, God is within their daily activities. And in their attempt to reflect on their daily activities, they wrote down their experiences for us to reflect on or have an opportunity to look into their understanding, their experiences of God. So that is a way of positionality. Anybody who kind of get up to say that the Bible stand on its own has not understood, first and foremost, what the Bible was meant to do. The canon of scripture was decided by the church. It is the church that decided what counts as the Bible. And I humbly submit that none of what Samuel has described or interpreted will be recognized by any biblical scholar that I know. Because you sometimes even confuse mythology with narrative. You confuse poetry with historical facts, and the Bible as a sacred text, as all sacred texts, whether you are talking about Upanishad or you are talking about the Gita Buddhist sacred text or Quran, sacred text is made up of imageries, poetry, proverbs. It is not a single historical literature as it has been caricaturized. And I will visit that later. So as a form of positionality, I want to take a stand in the Christian tradition as a whole. It's unfortunate that for those of us from Africa, we live in a time that anybody at all can stand up and say that I can interpret the Bible for myself. But within the history of the church, we don't even say my interpretation or his interpretation. It is the collectivity of the church that interprets the sacred text, because it is the church that decided that we as a people, we will submit ourselves, when we have come together to interpret this sacred text as our text. So it is absolutely inconceivable that anybody who understands where the sacred text has come from could caricaturize this way as if it is what it was meant to do. The sacred text, the Bible, as we call it, if we were even in a biblical class, the first question that I would have asked her for, whose Bible? And what Bible? That in itself is even rooted in serious questions about authority, about which bit, forms the Bible and which bit does not form the Bible. So I want to problematize the sacred text itself. Whenever Christian says, this is the word of the Lord, thanks be to God, don't for 1 minute assume that they are saying it without an understanding that it goes without saying, reason, tradition, experience. You know, nobody within the church, for example, will read 1 Samuel chapter 15, where they say, go and kill the Amalekites. And then they will pick up their cutlasses and guns and go and kill the Amalekites, because you will read that go and kill the Amalekites. But it is the responsibility of the church to ask themselves, is what we are reading here resonate with our experience? Is what we are reading here resonate with human reasoning? Is what we are reading here resonate with the tradition of the church? So as a form of positionality, nobody within the church, as I have come to be part of it, can say that to say that this is the Bible is to simply say it is a text that stands on its own. The Bible as a text does not stand on its own. It is rooted within the tradition of the church, within the reasoning of the human beings who came together to put it together as a canonical scripture. It is within the experiences. It is by taking these together that we say that we have a Bible. So that is a form of positionality. Now, coming back to, is the Bible relevant for leadership? Yes, it is. How could any scholar who understands evolution of governance even deny that the Bible is not relevant to leadership? How did we move from theocracy to monarchy to democracy? It is inconceivable that any scholar of its sort could say, if we don't know where we've come from, how do we know where we are going? If the Bible is not relevant, is Plato's work relevant? If the Bible is not relevant, is Socrates' work relevant? If Bible is not relevant, is Herodotus' work relevant? All these texts that we have, which we call the classics, including the Bible, has shaped what we have come to embrace as our contemporary understanding of system of governance. I am very delighted that my brother sits in American context. Where does he think his constitution came from? Where does he think that his constitution came from? The American governance decided to go for the separation of church and state because many of those who ran away from Europe to America were running away from religious persecution. And even there, they couldn't run away from the fact that the Bible was the foundation for whatever constitution that they were trying to put together. And as I positioned myself, the Constitution, because the Bible does not stand on its own, the Constitution was informed by the relevance of Scripture, the insight for the Enlightenment project that began in Europe in late 17th century, but assumed a momentous force in the 18th century. So to come and cite some, mythological texts about the fall of the Tower of Babel and Leviticus, religious taboos and cultural taboos does not address the question. The question is, does a sacred text contribute to our understanding of leadership? And all leadership, and I stress, all leadership is an evolutionary. All leadership is leadership evolves. It's not, leadership just didn't land on our laptop. leadership always evolve. And from my end of the spectrum, I want to submit that to say that the Bible is not relevant, it is to deduct a chunk of our human history that has gone to shape our understanding of evolution of our governing system. Now that brings me to a very, very important question. Now, someone made a very, very important point, which I find it quite difficult to understand. When he is giving these various citations from the text, which he caricatured, whose interpretation is he presenting? Is it his understanding as he has come to form, or the understanding of the church as they have come to receive? I don't think that any church that has understood the relationship between the Bible, reasoning, tradition, and experience, which go together to form the sacred text, will recognize any of the interpretation that he has given. Now, I want to move on to literature as a whole. Any piece of literature takes us to the past, present, and the future. And whichever way we understand the role of the Bible contributes to our understanding of what has happened in the past and what is happening now. And unfortunately, we have people who call themselves prophets. Prophecy is not so much about the future, according to biblical understanding. I repeat, prophets is not so much about future. Prophets are people who are sent to foretell, not foretell. Foretell in the sense that these are the regulations that human society should abide by. Care for the poor, care for the widows, care for the orphans. If you don't do these things, destruction awaits you. So it is not so much about predicting what is going to happen in the future. It is about reminding people that if you don't do all these right things now, you are storing up yourself for the day of slaughter. Give me one revolution that has happened in history which does not follow this pattern. Give me one revolution that has happened in human history that does not follow this pattern of failure to give the people their due. And as a result, it becomes bloody. The Russian Revolution, the American Revolution, the Japanese Revolution, the Chinese Revolution. It's unfortunate that whenever an African took arms, once they get into power, the very people that they charm in Junior Jesus, they are the people who get corrupt. But any major revolution that has happened in human history, that has been momentous for development, has followed the same prophetic principle. And I repeat, prophetic does not mean in the future. Prophetic means, if you like, I normally describe this to my students this way. Prophets were like journalists telling their people that if you fail to do what you have to do now, there is going to be bloody consequence. And it always happens. So I submit that simply even understanding the biblical tradition of prophetic imagination, it has helped every society. It has helped every society that had revolution to ask themselves, what can we do so that this bloody revolution doesn't repeat itself? I will give you a very simple example to summarize it. When the bloody revolution was happening in France under Napoleon Bonaparte in the late 18th century up to the 19th century when Napoleon Bonaparte was causing havoc in Europe. The British government asked themselves one question: what can we do so that the bloody revolution that is happening in France will not happen in Britain? I recommend to every historian on this platform that historical texts tells us that John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, was reported have saying, if you don't want to see the bloody revolution happening in France, happening in Britain, then I recommend to you, look after the poor. Make sure that the industrial revolution that has started, the fruits of the industries are shared equally. And the revolution that started in France never reached Europe. And where was John Wesley taking his cue from? He was taking his cue from the prophetic tradition. So, dear brothers and sisters, comrades, I submit that to say that the Bible has no relevance to understanding of leadership and our system of governance is to say that Herodotus, Plato, Socrates have no relevance as well, because all these books, including the Bible, have come to give us what we call the classics that help us to know how society has evolved from theocracy to monarchy, from monarchy, and even monarchy, they will divide it into two: divine monarchy to democratic monarchy to the modern democracy as we have come to accept it. So here rests my case, and I look forward to engage with Samuel as both of us have now present our position on the subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shen. I think whilst you catch your breath, the next stage will be doing follow-ups, if there are follow-ups from both sides. But I think that once you have had that lengthy case-making period, maybe we'll skip that and see if we've got some reactions or comments from the people who have listened, because they've also been on their chair for a while. And then in your attempt to answer, you can also put in some of the follow-ups. And there's a hand that has gone up already.
Yeah, Samuel Nyako, please.
Okay.
If you have a question, you can ask, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I myself never enjoyed a religious conversation like this ever in my life. You know, getting perspectives from both ends of the spectrum. It's really been engaging, and thank you to both our speakers for making a very good case. I have a question. So if you listen to both speakers, it looks like the problem has not got to do with, you know, what they believe in and, you know, our own perspectives. It's more about what people are doing to destroy the image of, you know, the religion that they've both chosen. So my question is to both speakers. How as a Christian, Dr. Shen, Mr. Shen, and as someone who doesn't believe in the Bible, my namesake Sammy, what does it mean for both of you to make sure that our people at least get the knowledge of you know, the Bible and, you know, without the Bible, and how is this going? What is the implication of all these to our society and a young country that is building up like Ghana?
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel. Let's allow your namesake to respond first, and then Daniel will follow up.
I think the effort has been long in coming, but it is now unraveling. What we are doing is part of what we should do to educate the masses about all kinds of viewpoints out there. But basically, I think that it is easy to say, I mean, I was very impressed with what my co-speakers said about the fact that the Bible did not descend from heaven. I think that is the kind of information which should be put out there. because the people are being made to believe that the Bible came from heaven, straight from God. So whatever is in there is sacred or is permissible or acceptable. If the people get to know that they should read the Bible, because my co-speaker, he put the Bible on the same level as all literature books. He cited Herodotus, he cited Plato, he cited Aristotle, and so on. In the Bible, in our generation, our people get to understand that. It will be a step-by-step approach to getting them to think objectively of whatever they read from the Bible. That's all I can say at this point.
Thank you very much, Dr.
I agree with Samuel. I mean, I think one of the sad things, that, both Samuel and myself, perhaps we will agree on, is that we have been caught up in a culture where people are already, we came from a culture where everything is attributed to the spiritual world. And therefore, anybody can use any text and, even hyper already existing insecurity of people. I find it very difficult to understand, for example, that as a young country, as Dr. Nyako mentioned, what could have been more helpful than to read a text that says, feed the poor, care for the orphan. If your neighbor has no clothes and you have two, give one. I think these are the fundamentals of nation building. In my career in the UK, I've had the privilege of being part of advisory panel to various governments of both left and right. And I will tell you that part of the only reason why I have been recruited in many of these cases, whether conservative government or Labour government, it simply comes from the fact that people think that you come from religious perspective and you will bring some religious insight. And all that I have told both left and right, conservative and Labour, is that, one of your own tradition in this country has been that based on your Christian principle, social welfare has been at the very heart of, British system. And the reason why Britain have never experienced the Nazi Germany, the Third Reich, or have never experienced the Napoleonic War is simply because drawing on the religious tradition that goes back to the time that the Norman entered this country in 1066. It has been at the very center of their destiny. So for me, and I dare say for Samuel, one of the things that perhaps we would like to see is people understanding that the sacred text that we both appreciate is just like one of the literature that we have inherited, and how we draw the good insight from this literature depends on how we use reasoning, how we use tradition, how we use, experience. For example, we have people who have given 1/10 of their money every day, every month to so-called men of God. Well, I mean, if you are giving 1/10 every month and the promises that they are offering you are not materializing in your life, don't you have equally the reason to take a step back and say, I have been told that if I give 1/10, this and that will happen. I've been giving 1/10 for 20 years. Nothing has happened. What is going on? So the Bible doesn't stand on its own. And as a young country, if we could appreciate the fact that the Bible, the tradition, the reasoning, and the human experience go together to make the sacred text what it is, I think as a young country, we will have a long way to go. During the Brexit, I asked one question because at that time, I was the chaplain to the mayor of Wandsworth, which is a conservative government. And I asked them, I said, why has a country that has prevented war for 80 years, and it is to prevent war, European Union was nothing but to prevent the wars that has happened in Europe. Why should we like to vote to get out? And her response to me was that, Daniel, we will live to see. And I said to her, if we are not careful, the very thing that our forefathers, based on their biblical vision of unity, went into the European Union, if we disobey them, we will be issuing visas, begging people to come back. I won't describe myself as a prophet. Ask anybody who live in Britain, and they will tell you that that is what we are doing now.
Right. Thanks so much. I would also open up, maybe some want to have follow-up questions or comments, suggestions. We are not that many, so I wish that each and every one would have a chance to make a comment or make a suggestion.
Yeah, I think I will synthesize what both have said for some time, but there is a question in the chat, so that can go on as I think about it.
For those of you who like to send questions through the chat, please direct it directly to me so that it do not be in the public, everyone's view.
Yeah.
Nokia, I don't know your name. Nokia 1.4. You want to ask a question? So ask your question now because I don't know your name. But please mention your name if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. My name is Ishmael.
No, it seems your microphone is not we cannot hear you well. Speak a bit louder or come closer, get closer to your gadget, please.
How about now?
Yeah. It's a bit better. It's a bit better, yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah. I'm Ishmael.
Ishmael,
speaking
okay.
from the front. Yes. Yeah, I came in a bit late, but at least the little I came to meet has sent certain message to me. And that is, we are all trying to unravel the truth of the part.
Ishmael, we're still having problems with your sound. Please. Hello, Ishmael, can you hear me? We're still having problem with your sound is not very clear. If possible, you can work on your. If you wouldn't mind, just write it and then give me a chart and I can read it for you if you wouldn't mind, because we're not hearing it properly. Please, otherwise it will.
Hello, how about now? Is it okay?
Okay, go on. Let's see if it will work, because don't forget we're dealing with time now.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yes. It's
is it okay now?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I've changed my position. I think it's okay. Good.
Go on.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, good. Thank you. What I was saying is that I came in a bit late, but the little that I came to meet, I realized that we are all trying to unravel the myths or the mystery around the Bible in the way we understand, especially some of us in this part of the world, the way we understand the Bible. What I want to know is that how pragmatically are these two people
Emmanuel, if I could come in here, Ishmael. Unfortunately, Ishmael, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
If I could try to read your mind. What I hear you say is that you want to know from our speakers how pragmatically the Bible can be interpreted for the good of society. Is that right?
Okay, we cannot hear. And also, if I heard him right, it looks as if he's trying to say that each and every individual is trying to interpret the Bible based on his or her own perception. People are. That is where we seem to have some difference. I think he's trying to agree with what Dr. Shen said. It's because what he's trying. You see, people have been trying to, especially from the part where we come from, people try to interpret it the way they see, the way they understand, instead of looking at it in the context of the writers themselves, or even they're looking at it as a very big, looking at it from a very broad point of view. Otherwise, they make a lot of mistakes. For now, please, Ishmael, stay with your question now. Let us move to other people, and then we'll come back to you maybe later on.
Can I, if that is the thought of our brother, can I quickly address that? A text without a context is a pretext. A text without a context is a pretext. Unfortunately, in Africa, we have received a text, and i.e. text, I mean the Bible, without even understanding the context in which this Bible is coming from. And I humbly submit, both as a historian and as a social anthropologist, any group of people who receive a text without understanding the context from which it is coming from will forever misinterpret that text. The reason why once upon a time we have theological colleges, and if you were training to be a Catholic priest, heaven help you, you start from seminary, 7 or 12 years of education, then you went to Sotium, and then you went to St. Peter's Seminary, and then before you are even deacon, you spend, what I'm trying to say is, you were educated to understand the context from which the Bible is coming from. If I'm sitting here today, I'm proud to say that among the people who have shaped my own thinking are K.A. Dixon, who was a Bible scholar, my own Catholic chaplain in my boarding school, Father Busy, who shaped my thinking. A whole lot of biblical scholars have shaped my thinking. So pragmatically, and I am sad to say this, we have received a text without understanding the context from which it is coming from. And a text without a context is a pretext. So what our people are interpreting, I submit, they are not interpreting for you the Bible, because they don't even understand the context in which it is coming from, let alone understanding the text.
Right. I mean, that is a lot to take in. Any further comment, questions, suggestions?
I think
we are not many, so at least each and everyone should have a chance to say something.
Yeah, we can give the chance to everybody. I think Nana Kofi's comment is everybody can view or can see his comment, and what he's trying to say that how do you reconcile the place of Bible in light of the U.S. Constitution if your assertion that the Bible has little to do or to offer for contemporary world? More or less, he's trying to say that after all, the U.S. Constitution is built around the
sacred text.
Yeah.
Okay, which part of the U.S. Constitution, if I may ask?
That's an indirect question to Samuel.
No, Samuel, if you're saying so, indirect question anyway. But Nana Kofi, are you there? If you can clarify that point, or if you wouldn't mind, if you can just give me a chat again, or give.
Because it is an exaggeration to say that the U.S. Constitution is based on the biblical principles. I have read the U.S. Constitution several times.
If I may, this does, and I'm trying to, I'm not a constitutional, this we know to be true. This we know to be true, that all men are created equal. It did not fall from the sky. It did not fall from the sky.
Well, those people that wrote that were keeping slaves, and they were chiefs of this.
I agree, but this is the complexity of our human development.
Really?
Voltaire.
Okay, well,
Votel.
Let me land a little bit. I'll let you come in.
Votel. Votel, who was the architect of the Enlightenment and wrote that all human beings are equal. He is also the most racist scholar who has ever lived. So all of us have, ambivalence within ourselves. But to make this ambivalence cloud the contribution that any text make. I mean, I was given a letter recently, in Munich, via Zoom, and people were surprised that as a Black man, I was citing Votel. And during the question and section, somebody asked me, that I find it quite fascinating that, your thought has been so much informed by Votel. What do you then make of his racist comment? And I said, I know. He's the most racist person who ever wrote during the Enlightenment. But having said that he is racist, that doesn't mean that what he wrote, if you take the racism out, cannot be worked with within the discourse of human thinking in relation to the Enlightenment. So, Samuel, I know that people like Abraham Lincoln, they are ambivalent. The guy who even married, had children with one of his slaves, one of your presidents, Jefferson. No, they are all complex human beings. But you and I will agree, Professor Gaba, whom you serve very well, once told me that my son, in this world, the water is always muddy. So let it settle before you drink.
Well, I think that those who claim that the Constitution of the U.S. derived from the Bible should just take a pen and paper and list those portions.
By the way,
let me laugh because I allowed you to speak a little bit. So, and they will find out that that's not the case. The U.S. Constitution emanated from the Magna Carta, and then from the Enlightenment, the thoughts of the Enlightenment. So that the main thing is to note that those are the two sources of the U.S. Constitution. It doesn't emanate from Judeo-Christian principles. Because the Judeo-Christian principle you are citing is not all that clear. As you yourself said, the water is muddy. You see, because we have Jesus Christ himself saying that the food that is meant for the royals are not to be given to the dogs. That's racist talk. Then we talk of God sending some people to go and destroy some people in order to take their land. That is genocide.
Samuel.
If you talk of the Median pogrom, that's where Moses was trained, but the Midianites were destroyed by Moses. So it is not straightforward to say that equality emanates from the Bible. More likely, equality emanates from people like Voltaire and those men of the Enlightenment.
Samuel, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The Magna Carta, which was written at Runnymede, do you know where it was written? Magna Carta was written at Runnymede. The place that it was written, it was at Runnymede. When I was a curate, Fred came to stay with me with the family. Runnymede is just around the corner from me. It was on your way to Windsor, and it was written in a church. Why was it written in a church? Why was it written in a church? So I will agree with you that to say that Constitution was, dictated by the Bible, it will be pushing your luck. But not to also acknowledge, and I use the word informed by their understanding of the Bible, the Magna Carta, and by the way, all those who wrote on the Enlightenment, it was their engagement with the Bible that gave us the Enlightenment. Let us not forget that. The Enlightenment ideas never came from the sky. The Enlightenment idea was people like Voltaire, people like David Hume, engaging with the sacred text. So the Enlightenment is, I prefer to call it, and it's not only me, there is a chap in your contest called Brian Stanley, who has written brilliantly on the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment is a response to some of then what was described as Christian thinking, that people found it quite inconsistent with their experience. So to engage with something that even inform you, I will argue that that in itself is a form of contribution. But without it, that wouldn't have come into being in the first place.
And I will agree, because if you look at the Bible as the foundation even of thoughts and literature, that is a correct way to view it, because you put it at par, and I'm repeating, with literary development. And I'll argue right now as I sit here that all those who have not even finished reading the Bible, they don't know much. It is the Bible that will push thinking. It is one of the books that push thinking. So you read the Bible and distill from it those ideas that you can use. But this is not what this debate today is about. It was about the contribution of the Bible to leadership. So I stated in my submission that it is good insofar as it teaches us what not to do. So the Bible, of course, has its lessons, and the Bible has also informed thinking. But as to leadership, anytime, you see, the problem we face as the people is what you described, that the Bible is encouraging us to believe that it was written by God, and therefore it should not be questioned. And if something dangerous is in the Bible, we should go along with it because it's in the Bible. But in reality, every day, even today should be better than yesterday in human development. If we are looking back into what people did 3,000 years ago, it's not going to take us anywhere. So in the context of our human development and leadership principles, and we are saying that we should look forward all the time and distill from any book, including the Bible, whatever is good for us. And that's what we have failed in Ghana to do.
All right,
okay.
Thank you.
Nana Brian is right. You've raised your hand. Nana, please go on if you have a question now.
Thank you.
Hello, Nana. Oh, okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much for these wonderful presentations. Frankly speaking, Professor J. Safu invited me. He was my English professor in school. And so I was really glad when he sent me this invitation. But I have a question here for you all. And the other presenter, I don't get your name because you don't have... Daniel.
Yes.
All right. So you made a statement that if test without a contest, is a test without a contest is a pretext. A perfect statement. Now, what I want to say and ask a question about is this. We have people who will study the Bible and then have all the context needed. And people who do that, we expect some kind of leadership from them. And unfortunately, we also actually expect a lot of human reasoning behind what they do from their understanding of this context that they have. As in these pastors who preach in the church, who call themselves pastors, call themselves prophets, as you rightly mentioned. I guess my question here is, and again, I just have to really sort of answer the part of it now, because he talks about how the Bible should just be a guidance for our leadership evolutions. But unfortunately, we do not see this happening. So I guess my question here is this: if we really have the context and we really have these leaders, how and why are they not making their human reasoning behind understanding these contexts relatable to the people that they deal with? That's the first question. The second one I want to approach is, why are we doing this? What prompted this discussion? And where are we going with this discussion?
That's it. Those are good questions.
Very, 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 very good questions. I will agree. I mean, Samuel, should I?
Well, the first answer is that once you jettison the idea that the Bible descended from heaven and that whatever is in it must be followed, once you throw that away, your mind will open. It is like eating the fruits of the knowledge of good and bad. It is not too difficult to be enlightened. If you read, you have read a lot of literature books. If you read any book at all, there is something in there which you can take for your life. So the same way is how to approach the Bible. And if you let the information get to the people that this is a book, you should read it. And if you read it, you should know that you should distill the nonsense sense from the nonsense. They will begin to look at it in a positive way. And there will be what we call a slippery slope to knowledge. Yeah. So in order to use your term relatable, in order to make the Bible relatable, you have to begin by letting them know that it's just another literature book. And that's very good position from Dr. which I like. Yeah. But your second question was, where are we going with all this? That one is an intellectual exercise. And we begin to build some sort of foundational knowledge, which we will try to at least disseminate over time. We will not be able to quantify the purpose right now, but we are beginning from somewhere. And there are some things that other people here, even the enlightened people here, have never heard. Once they have heard them today, they are going to go forward and talk about that. And that will be a beginning of the evolution of thought.
I'm not the sad thing is, perhaps I would say that intellectuals have failed Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. That is right.
Intellectuals have failed Africa. We failed Africa in the sense that, Samuel and I started this conversation from different perspectives, but we also have our commonalities.
Yeah.
And we also have our differences. And that is what gave birth to the Enlightenment in Europe. Yeah. Men and women who could sit, to have this kind of intellectual debate where, the fruits of the conversation feed into the ongoing thinking of the people. And that is what, your question, why are we doing this? Perhaps, I would say that it is we as a people, asking ourselves, where have we failed and what can we do to address some of these failures? What I'm going to say sounds a little bit arrogant, but please forgive me. I find it very, very difficult to understand how somebody who cannot read Shakespeare to understand could then read King James Version, "Thou sayest the Lord," and then tell people when he himself has not even understood. And I'm not talking about the meaning of the text. First, you have to understand the text itself as those of you who are in literature know, before you can even interpret. And the sad thing is, we have politicians who, to drive attention away from themselves, they have allowed men and women who themselves don't have any education to understand what they are saying. Look, anointing and perspiration go hand in hand. And even somewhere in the Bible, it says that when the Spirit comes, he will remind you of what you know. Some of our preachers, what do they know themselves? That the Spirit will remind them to tell their congregation. So we find ourselves in a political situation where our politicians are using these men, and I always find it even sexist, that they are always men of God. I'm here to encounter women of God. You know, if you are a woman of God, perhaps you are married to some pastor, but it is so sexist, yet nobody even questioned that. So your question is so timely. A nation that ignores its intellectuals has no chance. And a nation that allows anybody, I mean, when you go to Rwanda now, the president of Rwanda is saying, at least if you want to start a church, you should have a master's from a recognized university. Why is he doing that? He is doing that because knowledge matters. I was so horrified when I was invited in London here by a Ghanaian church to go and preach. I went there and they have invited a bishop from Ghana to come and bless somebody who is doing whatever. They call him Papa. What really horrified me is this. In chambers, when we were in the Anglican or Methodist, we would say vestry. When we were in the vestry, I said to this so-called man of God, so from here, where are you going? He said, from here, I'm going to New York to attend my son's graduation. Yet when he stood on the pulpit, his sermon began, you know, among other things, let me be fair to him. Among other things, went like this: your education cannot help you. Your qualification cannot help you. Only Jesus can help you. And only Jesus means only Jesus as he interpreted. If education is not necessary, why are you going to your son's graduation in America? How did you get money whilst you are in Ghana to pay for education in America? My brothers and sisters, we are in serious trouble. Why are we doing this? We are doing this because perhaps it is about time that intellectuals within the country and in the diaspora come together and think. I remember speaking to Bishop Akwesi Sapon, now Archbishop Akwesi Sapon, in Kumasi in 1997 when I was doing a research. And Akwesi Sapon said to me, and I quote, "My son, when a nation becomes intellectually bankrupt, they will sink into abyss. And the end is not always pretty."
Thank you, Daniel. I think, I don't know whether Samuel wants to follow up, or is Nana okay?
I want to follow up.
One second. No, I was even talking about Samuel Nyaku. He's got a hand up. Let me say this. Why are we doing this? I know that Emmanuel, Dr. Yolson is there. As for Daniel, I spent like 4 hours when we talk about these issues. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a theologian. I've been compelled to write a book on mending the breaking cord. Because I thought that I grew up knowing Christianity to be a force for good. But I get to a point where I begin to question and I get lost. So I put that in writing. And forgive me for advertising my book. But I'll pause here. Right. Yeah, I'll pause here and say that we'll give Dr. Yeltsin and those others who are on the platform who have been spoken, at least to also put in a comment or a suggestion, especially on Nana question. If we here think that this is worthwhile and we want to propose that this has to go on, we are happy to coordinate it. Dr. Yeltsin, if you are ready.
Oh, okay, right. Yes, I'm David. Okay. Well, I don't have a question, but I'm enjoying the discussion. And I think that for all the discussions that we've had from why right through Kent and all that, I think we are on course in bringing these issues up and articulate it in the environment that is required. I mean, the examples that Daniel was giving as to what is happening in the church, in the charismatic churches and other things. Yeah, there are real issues coming up. And we need to be able to be in a position to come up with convincing arguments. I mean, not just something just to throw up in the air. Yes, arguments to be able to get people to start thinking. Okay, because all that we do, we get up all that, and as we said, like the trained ones, I mean, the intellectuals, we all go, and we all end up in these churches on Sunday, and we all go and sit down and they do all this speaking. Your professor, where he has a PhD, to put him down and all that. They delegate us, and we are happy, and we come out. And when they come out, and the Monday, what happened at church? It was a great sermon, it was powerful. But I mean, the arguments there they don't hold water. I mean, in anything that we do, yes. So I don't have a question, but these are my issues, and I think that I'm observing and then enjoying it, and then also contribute in the pushing this whole agenda forward. That is why I'm here.
That's a good point. Okay.
And to add to what David had just mentioned, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
Nobody who is talking about these issues means that you are attacking people's daily bread. You are attacking people's, what they have used as a prop up to get into political positions that they don't deserve to be there. So just to add to the, David's point, that we owe to our brothers and sisters that, these conversations will go on, and it is not going to be pretty. But we should be prepared that, forward ever, as Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, backwards never.
Yes, just to add to what Dr. Shen has just said.
Please, could you call me Daniel? I prefer...
Daniel. Nana, there's one thing we can also do as a people. I mean, see, at least you can read something. You can read in between the lines. You can make some sort of a realistic judgment about some issues once you read through. And for instance, if you happen to have brothers and sisters, see, some of these things start from our own homes, our small families. We can educate people. We don't have that opportunity. We don't have that platform, that big platform like the so-called pastors who've got these big platforms to air their views. But as you're a member of a church, if you're a member of a group, or if you have a family member who seem not to understand some of these principles, it's our responsibilities as individuals who know just to share some of these ideas with them. That's the essence of, being a part of this, or trying to help your society, your people to grow. Because sometimes you read some of these things, or you watch some of these videos about pastors abusing people, using the Bible to abuse their own members. It's horrible. But what can we do? We only have to convince our people. We have to let them know that this is what the Bible is saying. Or if anything at all, the Bible is not giving any power to a specific individual to come and abuse you, to come and use you wrongly. That's something we can say. Okay. We may not have that big platform. We may be a small drop in the ocean, but we can start from our families. We can start from our own small groups or individuals, wherever we find ourselves, so that it will take off from there.
Okay. Daniel mentioned a lot about the Enlightenment movement. And from the Enlightenment movement, when it actually started, we realized that it was more centered on secularism, reasoning, as compared to then, religion. And so when the religious people realized that that was overcoming religion, that then brought about the first Great Awakening and then the second Great Awakening. And so that's where I was coming from, because Daniel mentioned a lot about the Enlightenment movement, and that is something that we can also do with this platform. Moving on, what do we want to do to counter all these excesses going on and really affecting our people back home in such a way that it is sometimes heartbreaking, you know? And to the point about these pastors, for some reason, I know that I have realized with my few visits to Ghana, thankfully, I get opportunity to take students to study abroad in Ghana every year. And so every time I make sure we attend church just to listen through and for them to write their review papers anyway. So pastors will always make reference to the fact that education will not take you anywhere. Education will not take you to heaven. You're not going to show your PhD or your degrees to God in order to get to heaven. And anytime I hear such a statement from a pastor, what clicks is that what degree does this pastor have? Because I don't see any pastor or any minister who has a PhD or has a master's program or even has a bachelor's degree who will stand in the pulpit and then talk that way. So this really is an amorphous discussion that cuts across so many topics that eventually we have to really delve into and see how best we can have our first Great Awakening and also our second Great Awakening, and see how best we can help our people back home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Samuel Nyako going to follow up? And I see Nokia back. Samuel Nyako?
Yeah, I guess my question has already been answered. But what I want to add is that you see, I stand very much in the middle, coming from a very strong Christian and traditional background. My mom is a very staunch Catholic, and my dad is actually a chief, a traditionalist. So I very much stand in between this whole discussion. And my kind of idea has always been, how do we kind of take this to the ground? How are we shaping the next Christian leadership? How are we shaping the next traditional kind of leaders? And I think you've all made very good arguments that can actually, kind of help us. But I disagree with the general comment that the intellectuals have failed Ghana. We have not. I am a science educator, and I tell you, we have not. We try to do our best. We've done our best. I believe Dr. Yamwa, you've done your best. I believe Dr. Samuel, Dr. Shen, you've all done your best. And it's not based on you, the intellectuals. It's based on the people. Our people are our people ready to kind of listen to us? Are they ready to recognize us as intellectuals, talking as intellectuals, giving very much intellectual and evidence-based ideas? I'm not sure they've done that enough for us to classify ourselves as failures. We've not failed, and I believe what you're doing today is one of those things. Like someone put in the comment box, I've never enjoyed such a conversation about religion in Ghana ever in my life. And I think to kind of downplay our role and what we've been doing is not really true. We are actually doing our best as intellectuals, and we've always done our best.
Okay,
thank
Samuel.
you.
Yeah,
Can I follow up with that?
Okay, follow up, David.
Yes, let me follow up. Yes, Samuel, Dr. Nyako, yes, I agree. But I think that what we are trying to say is that our best is still not enough. We still have to do more. We are not saying we've not done anything. There's a need to do more. Because this whole idea of even with the intellectuals is even getting into academia and into other areas apart from a religion. Now, when it comes to even in areas of entrepreneurship and design and all those things, whenever you talk about a person with a PhD, etc., no, this book is a book long. That term, what are they referring to? Book long for you get it, and it is actually even affecting some of these things that they don't want people of that caliber. Because we have to prove with that level of thinking such that they will come to us to understand, to listen to us, what we have. Okay, that's why Dr. Daniel was saying that it's not going to be pretty. Okay, it's going to take some time. It's going to be take some. Yes, you have to, because some of them, for some, it is the way of life, and it is what the society sort of where they get their daily bread, where their bread is buttered. That is what they do. So if you are going to attack those things and work on those things, then they are going to come against you. Okay, but then if you are waiting for them to come, then you should have something in place that will get them to come, to cause them to come to you. Other than that, if they are using that to make their money and get away, just away with it, then you are losing. Basically, because you can affect them. And as Emmanuel just said, our platform is not as big as them. For them, every Sunday or you can call 60-day prayer, and every day somebody will have to come and sit and then listen. So anytime he's got it, but you have to be able to create something, and that's where we are starting small. And gradually, we have to be able to do it in such a way that they will have to come and listen to this opinion as well. In order to, we are not saying we are the only people, but then I think that's where we are heading to. That then they will also come and listen to us and say, okay, that is what these people say. Because how many people are consulted? When you look at when something happens in this country, in Ghana, okay, how many intellectuals are consulted on the technical aspect of some of the things without referring to them as belonging to Party A or Party B?
Yes, David, that's a good point. But why should an intellectual be consulted when a prophet prophesied that next year there will be floods? And he has prophesied about that. So why should they go and talk to the climate or the expert in climatology? Let me give us we've got, I told you that I didn't expect us to go to 2 hours, but it looks like if I'm not careful, we're going to cross the 2 hours line. So we've got about 15 minutes, which is to be able to round up today's. I know that we strain into other areas, other sectors, but these are all relevant issues that we need to cover. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to post my Hotmail email address here. Please send messages to me as to what you want us to do. Because, I mean, like I keep saying, I read Samuel's epistles, and I said, wow, this is my former hall president, okay? When we were there, yes, he used to write a lot. I didn't know he had got a different worldview now. And then I've also been with Daniel, who I've learned a lot from. So why not? Why not? These are people who are very convinced about their worldviews, and I know they mean well. Why don't we come together to have a chat? So if this is something that we are happy to do, please send me messages. I don't know how much our panel, how many of you? I think that if we have to do next one, maybe next Sunday, then Nana has to be in the hot seat, because we want our ladies to also lead.
She's a great lady. I don't know why she's hiding her beautiful face. So you should have come online.
I want to see one of your students here.
All right.
And Dr. Fred, before you go on, Samuel, may I commend you, for the provocative nature. I may not agree with you, but I just enjoy reading some of the provocative stuff that you write. And that is how writing is such that even to be provoked to think, it's part of the contribution of the conversation. So, I don't know how many people send, stuff to your email to, pray for your soul, but I'm really delighted, and that is what, progressive discourse is all about. So, I just want to put that into the conversation.
Well, I think that is the respect is mutual. I think that you made certain statements to make me feel that you have a deeper appreciation of what we should do as a people. And those are very significant points that we must carry forward. And that's what we're going to do.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Erasmus and this Samuel Kwesi. Yes, we want to hear you. I think.
Galasi, I think Nana Kofi wanted to say something. Nana, can you? Yeah, let's hear you. Can you hear
thank
us?
you very. Yes,
Okay.
please. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you
Just
hear
a quick one, anyway.
Yes, a very short one. I just want to thank Dr. Fred for inviting me. Dr. Sen, I've met twice or thrice, but he wouldn't recall me. And as one just said, I really enjoy the very well-informed discussions, particularly Dr. Patience. And I think the very good beginning, as we've all said. And I'm sorry I wasn't doing two things at the same time, so I must have been a bit absent, but I enjoyed the discussion, and I look forward to seeing more of those. So thank you very much.
All right. Now this is Erasmus. Yes. So Dr. J. Safo is my classmate, and at Koforidua Secondary Technical School, and sector board. Yeah, he's been doing a lot of writings, like you said. People are reading, and to be honest with you, on the platform that we both are serving on, people are not happy with him because of some of the things he writes. But for me, I'm a biologist, actually. And I have been listening to some of the things he writes about. And then when I saw these adverts, I was like, okay, let me come and listen to what is happening. Because you see, one of the things, I teach conservation biology. And I ask people, when the Bible says have dominion over the fishes and all those things, what does it mean? You see, and my students will always think that things will be there forever because God created them. And I keep telling them that, look, if that is what the Bible is saying, for me, my understanding is stewardship. So I try to put the two together because it's difficult teaching biology and being a Christian at the same time, if you believe in evolution and all those things. So for me, it's a very good intellectual discussion, and I'll participate next time to learn more. I'm learning, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good presentations. Yeah, I've really learned a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I think everyone has had a chance, if I'm right. So if I have your permission to give our esteemed panel the chance to do their wrap-up. And let me plead with everyone who has tuned in today that please send me your contact. I'll put my email address there. I will type out my number as well. Feel free to get in touch because as I sit here, I don't know what we have to discuss next. And I hope you help me to be able to put together what will be an interesting discussion for maybe next Sunday. I'm not sure, but if everything goes on well, then maybe we'll meet again. I don't know, Dr. Jesaf would let us know if the time, and then Daniel as well, if the time is convenient. So whatever information I get, and I believe in this sort of small group thing, we sent out invitations. Those of you here decided to join, and that to me is enough to carry the message across. So if those of us here today agree that this is important and we have to repeat and move forward, I know that it will go far. Our people, when you start something, all they do is that let's wait and see. So I'll be happy to hear from all of you, either by WhatsApp messages or I'll put my email address there. So we'll give the rest of the time for our panel to wrap up, and then we can say goodbye to each other.
Well, I'll say three things. The first thing is simply that we have to look at the so-called sacred texts as just human writings that will contain both sides of bad and good, or good and bad. And if we look at it that way, it will mean that we are pushing back on the whole idea of faith and belief. We are orienting ourselves to reasoning. And that's all we did. As soon as we can reason as people, and understand that we have certain universal principles and universal virtues or universal values to follow, we will not have a lot of problems. We will get into development if we understand honesty, if we understand respect, mutual respect for each other, if we understand that being corrupt is evil, and if we understand that we should be good citizens and do them, we will cut across all religions and all faiths and all beliefs. And if we understand all those things, that will mean that we will be orienting ourselves to intellectual reasoning and to rationality. And that's how we will move forward as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daniel.
Well, first and foremost, it's been a joy, having conversation with Samuel, and I look forward to another, opportunity for us to have that engagement. The first observation that I want to make is that it is, and perhaps this sounds a bit of self-congratulatory, but it's of interest to note that Samuel and I could have this conversation. I dare you to go and listen to any Ghanaian political show, and nobody wants to even concede agreements, let alone how they can diverge and converge. So one of the things that I also want us to take away, first and foremost, is how this dialogue has been. And, Fred, thank you for sharing it, and various contributors have made this conversation. So about 7 years ago, I was invited by Bishop of Southwark, Church of England, to write a short paper on disagreeing well. And I thought that was quite a very funny paper to ask me to write. How do I write disagreeing well? So I delved into it, and I produced a small document for Southwark Diocese. And disagreeing well is also to listen to the point of view that is being presented, and then also present your case, to hear one another, and then out of that, where do we go forward together? So it may sound self-congratulatory, but I also want to commend the nature of how this conversation has been to those that we will, invite, those who have access to other young people that can encourage them to encourage. The nature of conversation itself is part of our problem. I have never listened to any Ghanaian debate where an MPP or NDC has said, I agree with you on this point, but here is where we disagree. As long as you are MPP or you are NDC, we disagree completely. But that is not how democracy or how debate or conversation or disagreeing well was meant to be. So the first thing is about the nature of this conversation. The second thing that I want to comment to all of us is that this, we have talked about reasoning a lot, rationalization, reasoning. And I want to say that reasoning itself is part of who we are as a human being. A human being that has lost its reasoning has no chance of survival. How have we come this far as humanity? And here, as humanity, I mean our evolutionary journey. We have come to this far because we have reasoned. If I went for hunting and I used certain technique and I didn't get the animal that I wanted to eat to survive, next time when I go, I will rationalize that why didn't I get the animal? Perhaps I didn't do this, I didn't do that. So magic, evolution into science. And there are so many books, that teaches us about how we move from magic to science. So reason itself is part of our God-given, part of our who we are as human beings. To commit intellectual suicide for not using our reasoning is the most catastrophic thing that could happen. And I commend to each one of us that whatever contribution that we can make to make using our reasoning part of the gift that we as humanity bring together for our common good is what this conversation with, Samuel has, taught me personally, and I commend, to each one of us. And then the last thing is that, when Fred wrote his little book, and gave me a copy, we had a conversation about it. My expectation was people will read this little book to be informed. But we live in a culture that does not read. I know Ghanaian culture, and for that matter, African culture, reading has become such a difficult thing. Part of the reason why the Enlightenment catch fire was that the printing press has been developed and people were willing to read. So I want to appeal to each one of us how we manage to encourage our community to read is part of what, our success for the future will be. I don't expect everybody to agree with Samuel, but at least if people will read what he's writing, and first you have to know what he's writing first before you disagree with him. But if people are not reading, then where do we go from here? So these are the 3 points that, from our conversation, I have gathered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. I think Nana's hand is especially up, so I will still give Nana a chance if she wants to say something.
I think she's finished with that.
All right then.
No, it should have been. I mean, it should have been off. I don't know why it's still on there.
Don't worry.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Anyway, that's fine.
Okay, so, thank you.
Yeah, let me take this opportunity to thank you all for taking time, and especially to our panelists. It's been short notice, and then the amount of preparation has gone in, and spending your time with us, sharing, and the graciousness with which you've also shared your ideas and thoughts are really, really, really encouraging. We will try to do our best to organize and coordinate myself and Emmanuel and the other people. Hopefully, I mean, I can't promise, but hopefully, if we're able to agree on something and we think that it has to be a weekly thing, I will let you all know. But please feel free to let me know how you want us to proceed. Of what relevance is the Bible to leadership and human development? That is what we sought to have a conversation about. And I hope that we're also going to spread the news. And until we meet next time, let's coordinate.
Just one quick thing. And also, I hope that we want to thank, he doesn't want me to call him doctor. I want to thank Eshen and Samuel for giving us such an insightful information, and very, very, in fact, everybody here is really, really satisfied with the information they've received. And also, I'm sure most of you who have really enjoyed it, I would like to also encourage all of you. Maybe if you have somebody, somebody who can also give us such a very meaningful or very informative message, or who can share some ideas with us, just try to, recommend them to us, and later on maybe we can contact them and see how best we can bring them on board so that they can share their ideas with us as well, and so that you can also enjoy it, because we want it to be a very broad kind of discussion, so that other people will be
thank you in. So if we don't get anybody, next Sunday we'll put Anna and somebody else, maybe Dr. Yeltsin, we'll put you in the hot seat. So thank you all so much, and I hope to hear from you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the other thing is that when the video is ready, we'll share it with you, and then you can also share with people who are not able to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice